Hey everybody, this is Shane Misuro. This is my reflection on assignment 2, which we did as part of the social media group. My specific topic inside that group was effective strategies for using social media in a high school science classroom. So first, just kind of a general synthesis of what I learned. The first and most important thing that my research turned up was that a pre-assessment is really, really important. You shouldn't assume that all students, just because they're young, know how to use every type of social media, and you shouldn't assume that just because they're students, they're not going to learn social media. And the only way that you can really do that is by gauging and adjusting for your students' technological ability beforehand. As long as you pre-assess their ability and adjust for it and teach to it, it really irons out a lot of the problems down the road and makes kind of the more complex things that it's going to accomplish, accomplishing inter-student communication and all of that, a lot easier to do. I also learned that in general, the reason to use social media is the ability to differentiate your instruction according to topic and content area. You can still teach what you teach, and then you can encourage your students to go out and use social media to learn more about whatever topics they find most interesting to them, giving them more exposure and probably and potentially allowing them to learn more and a greater depth than what you would be able to specifically teach them. In terms of the specific platforms that I looked at in terms of social media, I looked at podcasts, wikis, microblogs, and blogs. With all of these platforms, one big best practice was that you as an instructor need to engage with those platforms in the same way, modeling the same way that you want your students to engage with them. If you just assign any of these and then you come back and you check it like an assignment, the students are going to do it, and then they're going to forget about it just like any other assignment. But if you are constantly interacting with them and pushing them to interact with you and pushing them to interact with each other and modeling what good interactions look like, the students find a lot more success in increasing interpersonal communication skills. In terms of podcasts specifically, the big takeaway that I got was making sure that whatever you assign, whatever assignment you assign, make sure that it benefits, it lends itself to an audio platform, because podcasts are an audio platform. Not all topics do this, so a podcast might not be good to assign for certain topics that you may be teaching in your class. It's not a catch-all. In terms of wikis and blogs, the big takeaway there was that clear expectations and routines are key to find success. It's not something that you just assign and just hope the students are using. It's not something that you assign once and never mention again. It's something that you have to routinely use over and over and over in the same way in class in order to help your students become as familiar with they can with the basic workings of the platform so that they can use the platform to the best of its ability. If you just kind of set it and forget it, they're not going to use it and they're not going to get the benefits out of it. With microblogs, the biggest takeaway I got was to not assume that just because students are students that they know how to use things like Twitter, microblogs. That you have to teach how to use these things from the ground up. Again, pre-assessment being key of understanding if they use it and how many use it and then in what way. And then you have to also, like all the others, model how you want your students to use it, explaining to them and being deliberate with your expectations about how they use it. In terms of analyzing the outcomes, overall look and feel, I was really happy with our website that we made. That's what we made. We made a website. It was hard to get a cohesive look to the website to make it look like a bunch of people made one thing instead of 4 people made 4 separate things that we stuck together. But what I noticed that in the end, after we got done and through with the formatting and kind of, working through that, the content was better overall than any one of us could generate. So my 2 takeaways would have been that working in groups where technology has a lot of problems on the front end. Setting it up, getting everyone on the same page, making sure that we all have a time that we are familiar with that we have to be done by because it's got to be posted by the certain time, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, making sure everyone's in and ready to post, talking to people even though we're on different schedules. All of that on the front end is difficult because naturally we're not on the same page and we're not in the same place doing the same things, but we're trying to generate one cohesive product. However, the other takeaway I took is that as long as everyone's open to remaining open to work with each other to generate this product, and work with each other and talking to each other to make their products better and more cohesive, and saying things like, I'm doing this, maybe you should think about that, that the end product is actually overall much, much better. The end product is better than any one of us could generate.